Hi, I'm Goomba Johnny, and I'm on Italian Sicilians Do It Better podcast. And if you're not watching this, you're not cool.
What's going on, everyone? We're back with another episode today. Today is my favorite episode, one of my icons growing up. Marcus, how you doing today?
Awesome.
I want to introduce to everybody, Goomba Johnny's in the building.
Here he is.
How you doing?
It's good. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming.
Absolutely. This is
No, it was great. It was great.
When I said you're one of my icons, that's true because I grew up with KTU radio.
Yeah.
I remember when it was the new KTU,
Yes.
and you were just my drive to work and all that stuff every day.
Well, thank you. And it's funny, I had like 17 years on the radio, whatever it was. And now while I'm out in the clubs performing, people will come up to me after the show and say, I grew up with you. And, it's good. It's a good feeling. It's nice,
It's awesome.
People say, I grew up with you. You don't understand. I used to make my mother put you on the radio when we were driving to school. And I said, okay, now I'm feeling a little bit too old. You know what I mean? But, I had a kid come up to me. He was, I don't know, he's about 22 years old. He goes, Goomba Johnny. He goes, Goomba Johnny. I said, yeah. He goes, I won $1,000 on your show. I said, oh my God. I said, I love that. I said, I love meeting people, that one on the thing. I said, that's great. He goes, yeah, I was 10. And I'm like, all right, I got to go. He was about 22.
Jeez, man.
But you have those moments where you I don't want to say feel your age, but it's like, because the station was so young, you know what I mean? And dance music and so many shows. And I was out in a different nightclub, sometimes 4 times a week, and I was so busy. And, it was so great because, it was just, for lack of better words, just the stimulation of the work and, meeting all the people. Because when you're in a radio, in a studio, if you're on the morning show, you're probably with anywhere from 5 to 10 people, and depending on the size of your morning show. And, you talk and you don't know if you made anybody laugh or whatever. So, when you go out and you meet the people or at a charity event or a nightclub or comedy shows, then you get that interaction.
The power of the voice makes a lot.
Yeah, it's weird because I didn't aspire to be on the radio. I never wanted to be on the radio. I never wanted to be a comedian. That was not my goal. I was in a nightclub one night. I was hosting a dance contest. And after the show, somebody came up to me and he goes, did you ever think about going on the radio? And I'm like, why would I do that? So he goes, well, you got a great voice. And he goes, your sense of humor would kill on the radio.
Wow.
So I said, okay. I said, well, you want me to buy you a drink? What? I don't understand
what is this
conversation.
What are we doing?
What, you're going to ask me out on a date?
Can we have dinner first?
So he goes, no, I work at Z100.
Oh, shit.
He goes, I want you to come down to the station. And I would go down at night. And I didn't get paid. I would be there like 3 nights a week. And I learned the ropes of radio. And I started to write a little bit, do some voices, and then develop a character. And I did that. And then I got my first paid gig out in Los Angeles, writing for a radio station, KGGI in Riverside, and did some work with KISS FM out there. And then I had an audition in 96 for KTU. And
it all happened.
I was the last one hired. And wow. I was not going to take the job. And the station manager said to me, he goes, look, I've been radio my whole life. He goes, I don't know why. He goes, you say hello. And I start laughing. So he goes, I know you don't have a radio background that would be typical of somebody to work in New York. He goes, but this is what you're supposed to do with your life's work. This is your life's work. Now, I don't know this guy, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe somebody's talking like that to me. You know what I mean? And when somebody usually says go right, for me, I go left. That's typical Goomba Johnny.
There you go.
You know what I mean? I got that, from not listening to my dad.
Yeah, that's what we all do. Every time when they say do something, we're like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to go my other way.
Yeah.
You're all right.
So I went home and I thought about it over the weekend, and I'm like, okay. I had a moment of clarity, and I said, you know what? I never listened to those outside people, voices, I said, I'm going to do it.
Good.
And I did it. And when I first started at the station, I thought my career would be about a year and a half, 2 years. And then it got big.
Yeah.
It got big.
Definitely
And,
did.
it was funny because I was on the radio 10 years, and my mother, very simple woman, really the sweetest thing you ever met in your life. And she comes in to me, she goes, Johnny, she called me Johnny Boy, you're Italian. Johnny Boy, you'll never believe what happened today. I said, what are you talking about? She goes, I went for a haircut. She goes, and I got my hair done, and they wouldn't charge me because I was your mother.
Uh-huh.
So I said, I've been on the radio for 10 years, and now you think because you got a free haircut,
It means something.
My son made it.
you think I'm at the top of the mountain?
That's
is
awesome.
funny.
Yeah,
that's
my father
great.
used to get mad. My father loved it, but he would say, because if one more person points at me and says, there's Goomba Johnny's father, I think I'm going to puke. I said, well, you're the one who made me. It's not my fault. I said, you should have wore a condom that night. What are you complaining about?
You know what it is? They probably didn't get that, right?
Well, nobody worked creatively in my family. So, I mean, you guys have the same thing. I mean, how many people in your family would understand exactly what's going on here right now?
My
Absolutely.
parents still don't know what the hell I do.
Yeah, well, yeah, they probably think you're doing something illegal. When they don't know, it's, there's something wrong. He's illegal. He's going to jail. He's going
What's
to jail.
Marco doing? Oh, porno? What is he doing? Go touch the camera.
So,
I had a question. Your name, Goomba Johnny,
Yeah.
where did that stem from?
it's from the radio station. And what happened was my real name, John Sialiano, which is Siciliano, but it was changed.
Sialiano.
Yeah.
There we go.
It was changed when we came in. That's a story I have to tell you how we found that
I
out.
want to hear that one.
Hold on to that one.
Mhm.
But I was at the radio station, and the boss goes, John, he goes, your name, I love your Italian name. He was Italian too. He goes, but it doesn't come off the lips properly. It's not the type of thing you're going to remember. He goes, we need to give you a nickname. So I said, okay. I said, how about, we were playing a lot of disco music. I said, how about Tony Manero? She goes, Tony Manero, that's fantastic. Saturday Night Fever. I said, I can't do it. So he goes, why not? I said, I can't dance. I'm not a good dancer. I said, I can't call myself Tony Manero.
And they can represent it.
And then go to the clubs, and some girl goes, Tony, will you dance with me? And I'm like, no, I got a bad back. You know what I mean? I couldn't do that. So he goes, all right, just keep it Italian. I like Italian. I said, how about Johnny Goomba? And he looks at me and he goes, Goomba Johnny. And he turns around and he walks down the hall, and then he turns around and he looks at me and goes, you're going to be famous.
There you go.
And then he closed the door to his office. And then I had to copyright the name. I owned Goomba, and I owned Goomba Johnny because I had to stop people from opening up pizzerias
Called Goomba Johnny's.
called Goomba Johnny's. Yeah, because at the height of the popularity, we speak to 2 million people, and
Yeah.
so
Or you could tell them to open up with the name, but you want 10%.
yeah. I mean, I could do that too. But I was approached so many
I
times.
can imagine.
Yeah, restaurants and stuff like that.
So honestly, what you were saying before, if you wouldn't listen to people saying that you got it, you did it. If you didn't do radio today, what would you think your life would have been at?
That's a great question. I mean, I started off in comedy. I'm really, the foundation for me is writing.
You're right.
Yeah, I wrote a book. I wrote 10 years as a contributing writer for Star Magazine. I wrote for Cosmopolitan. So that's probably, one of my,
Passions.
well, I don't want to say passions. It's probably my best building block.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Start off as a writer and then, can you perform? And the whole art of comedy is, performing on the radio and performing on stages is two totally different things.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of comedians that were given their own radio show that failed. George Lopez, Paul Rodriguez,
Right.
Whoopi Goldberg. I can go on. Sinbad, because it's a different art form. So I was able to make that transition because it's just a different form of entertainment. You have to speak differently, more graphically. You have to be able to have a
Different
big
art. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to put things together in 60 seconds. You got to be, a little bit quick-witted. You know what I mean? And it's the art of conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
Radio is basically good-natured humor. Stand-up comedy is a little bit more,
Dark.
irreverent. Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a difference. And, I was fortunate enough to be able to do both things,
That's cool.
Yeah.
And you actually wrote a book too.
I wrote a book, yeah.
The Mafia Family, How to Create Your Own Mafia
How
Family.
to create your own mafia.
I got to hear about this,
Yeah.
man. I got to hear about this.
Yeah. I was asked to write a book. I was approached, I was in my 40s by a publisher to write a book about dating. And I wrote the book. I wrote 3 chapters and an outline, and I gave it to him. And I didn't hear from him in 6 months.
That's always good.
Yeah. I didn't think anything. I didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, look, I'm single. Why would you want me to write a book about dating? He goes, exactly. You're the perfect guy for it.
I could see
He
that.
goes, there's a lot of guys out there like you.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Anyway, I wrote it. I handed it in. I got a phone call 6 months later. Hey, Johnny, this is Gary. I said, yeah, Gary. He goes, we read what you wrote. So I said, okay. So he goes, we didn't dislike it.
That's a great way to start.
Yeah, that's the way he started. We didn't dislike it. We weren't crazy about it.
Jesus.
But one thing popped out about it, you could write. So he said, we'd like you to write a comedic hand guide on how to start your own mafia family. So I said, all right, you got the wrong guy. I'm not doing it.
Right.
I am not doing it.
There you are denying again.
Yeah, I said, I'm not. I said, I have to tell you, I'm a little insulted. So he goes, just think about it. So at the time, I was a contributing writer on Star Magazine, and Victoria Gotti was one of my bosses. She was an editor there. So I got a phone call from her, and she goes, hey, whatever happened with your book? I said, you'll never believe what happened. So I told her the whole story, what I told you guys, and she goes, you got to do it. I said, really?
Really?
I said, you think I should do it? She goes, yeah, who else is going to do it? He goes, what are you, nuts? She goes, do it. And I hung up the phone. I said, Jesus. Once again, you know what I mean?
You went right
I
back.
was at that point, I'm saying, all right. So I said, let me see if I can do it. Because I probably would have been voted in high school, most likely not to write a book.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because I was a jock. I was an athlete, I was a C student,
Your mind wasn't there.
Yeah, well, yeah, no. And it was it was a great accomplishment for me personally.
Awesome.
I'm probably going to write another one, when I'm done performing. I'm writing a one-man show right now. So I'm in the process of doing that.
You were also an athlete.
I was an athlete, yeah.
And
I'm still an athlete, by the way.
in
yeah?
different ways.
I'm just an older athlete.
Joe Montana.
I'm older than that.
So tell us about your football career.
I got out. I played football in high school, and then I went to college. And when I graduated,
Awesome.
Yeah, I know.
when I graduated college, and I signed a free agent contract with the Jets. And the following year, I signed a free agent contract with the Giants.
Jeez, both teams, huh? You just,
Yeah.
That's
I
incredible.
didn't even get a trip out of New York. It sucked. I drove to camp both times. I'll never forget. I was in Giant camp, and they have the dorms, and I think it was Phil Sims was there. He goes to me. He goes, "Hey, who was that guy? Some guy came by in a car and he handed you a package." I said, "Yeah." I said, "That was my dad. He brought me some more underwear."
That's freaking awesome.
That's great.
So it was funny, yeah. But it was great. My father got to see me, practice and wear the uniform. My father was a big fan and so on and so forth. So, and then after that, I continued to, I got into competitive powerlifting for a while.
Oh, wow.
And then it just kind of bounced around. The 20s were pretty backwards for me. I don't know if it was like real 20s were like the teens for me. I have to say, for my life.
Meaning that you feel like you took a step back?
No, I just felt like I really worked on my stupidity in my 20s.
I blossomed.
Yeah, I kind of was. I became a star in some ignorant circles. You know what I mean? I know. I think it's that way now too. You know what I mean? Where kids, the 20s are kind of like the teens. I mean, I'm not embarrassed to say it. I mean, I stayed with my parents till I was 30.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know.
my father goes, "You gonna leave? You gonna leave?"
Yeah.
And my father goes, "Sal, leave him alone, Sal. I'd rather have him here than you."
Oh, exactly.
And if my mother made me a sandwich, I said, she goes, "Johnny boy, you want anything to eat?" I said, "Ma, you got any eggplant left over?" She goes, "Yeah. Could you make me an eggplant sandwich? Don't heat it up. I like it cold." And she come out with the sandwich, and my father sat there and goes, "You mean to tell me I pay all the bills and you made him a sandwich?" So she goes, "That's my son. That's my firstborn." And I was like, Jesus, right?
Yeah,
So,
of course.
Yeah. So she goes, "Why don't you make me a sandwich?" He goes, "Because you can make it yourself." And I used to say, "Dad, you want a bite?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes crazy. Oh,
Salt to the wound.
yeah.
So would you consider yourself a little bit of a mama's boy, a little bit?
You know what?
Because that's big with the Italian community.
I don't know. You know what? It was very weird because I had an unusual close relationship with both parents.
Okay.
Usually it's just one, but my father was, my father was really, really proud of a lot of things that I did. And my mother didn't, I mean, I'm half Sicilian, half Polish.
Okay.
So, it was really very different. It was very funny in my house. I do a joke. I'm like, my parents sat me down when I was 16 and they said, "Johnny boy, we have to talk to you." And I just remember saying to myself, "Oh my God, I'm adopted." So I said, is it adoption or am I adopted? So my father goes, "No, it's worse than that. You're half Polish." So, I do the joke because, and I'm very proud of being half Polish. But that's not the point. My mother and father would banter back and forth. My mother would go, "Johnny boy, you don't think you got those shoulders from the Italian side, do you? You don't think you're strong like that from the Italians, do you?" I said, I don't know, Ma." And my dad would walk by. He goes, "Johnny boy, you don't think you got your brains from the Polish, did you?" So I said, "I'm just glad it's not reversed." And then I got the Sicilian shoulders and the Polish brain.
That's freaking awesome.
So, my mother had a great sense of humor. You could tease her. I remember when I was 16, I was eating breakfast. She goes, I got to tell you something. There was there were a couple of years there where I thought you were weird. So I said,
Straight out like that.
I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "No, I get all the jokes now." She goes, I get all the jokes,
Delayed by a couple of years,
Yeah,
but you're
yeah.
good.
Well, it's good because I had such a dry, sarcastic humor my whole life. And I hate to say it, I would practice on my mom all day long.
That's so good.
I would tease and my mother was such a good sport, and she was such a wonderful woman. And my dad was a great storyteller. My dad was a Bronx detective, and like any cop is a great storyteller. And he was funny, but he never tried to be funny. You know what I mean? He would come home, he'd take off his jacket, and he'd have his shoulder holster on. He worked in Fort Apache in the Bronx, very busy precinct, dangerous. And he'd walk back and forth. And this particular time, I just got at Jet football camp. I was maybe about 265 pounds. I was going to Jet football camp. I was training. So he goes, what did you do today? I said, I ran in the morning and I lifted. I said, I think I'm going to do a little stretching. I might go down the park and run a little more. She goes, you look, Jesus Christ. He goes, what do you weigh? I said, I don't know, about 265. So I said, yeah. He goes, man, you look big. He goes, you're strong. I goes, how much can you like lift off the ground, pick up? I said, I don't know, about 600, I guess. So he's walking back and forth. He goes, how much you think that garbage pail weighs outside?
I fucking knew
10, 12 pounds. He goes, the one you walk by every day. He goes, I should shoot you. I should shoot you. Put his hand on the gun. I should shoot you right now. I'll put 6 in you. Right? And I'm just laying on the couch and you can't, my mother and from the kitchen, Sal, you can't shoot the kids. Sal, you can't shoot the kids. And I'm like, you can't shoot the kids, Sal.
Oh my gosh.
But that's the kind of humor he had.
But it sounded like you guys had a great rotation there of, how everybody bounced off each other.
Oh yeah. It was good. It was good. My brother's a professional golfer. He was an athlete too. He works in Westchester. He's a pro at Pleasantville Country Club.
Oh.
So one of my mother's brothers was a very well-known professional golfer. My mother had 7 brothers. The smallest one was my size. I had uncles 6'4", 250.
Jeez.
Oh, wow.
The Polish were very big and strong, And my father had 5 brothers and a sister.
So you had a large family.
You know what? I did. I don't anymore. They're all gone. My mother and my father are gone. Every one of my aunts and uncles on my mother's side are gone.
Oh, jeez.
And only 2 of my father's brothers are left.
Wow.
And that's it. So I went from like having these huge holiday parties or, barbecues during the summer. We couldn't even have both families over at the same time. It was just too many.
Too big.
Too many people.
Yeah.
And now it's like,
It's funny you said that because I realized that for me, when the last couple of years now. So it was like growing up, you always have a big table. Of course, the Italians would be the table in the basement.
Right.
And the kids were always at the end.
Right.
And then slowly you see how you're graduating.
Yeah.
The older
Keep
people are
going
out. But at the same time, the family's shrinking. Who moved away, who passed away. And it's sad.
It's really sad. And it's sad, at this point in my life, it's really sad for me personally. I miss my parents a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I miss them a lot, especially my mom. Very difficult.
I lost my dad at a young age too.
Did you?
Yeah. So I could understand that.
Yeah. You just, you just hang on to the memories. But, you're grateful for the time that we had with him.
It sounds like you guys had a great influence by parents and.
Yeah. No, I had, I don't want to say I had a storybook childhood, because we didn't have everything. You know what I mean? But we had what we needed. Right. But I was the captain of the football team in high school. I was cheerleader, all that kind of happy horse shit.
Yeah.
That you see on Grease.
You did have a lot of things though that I know a lot of people don't.
Right.
The
support, any kind of backing you had. I'm telling you, there's people who don't even have half of that. They could have everything material-wise, but when it comes down to having that kind of support from your family,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the one of the best parts of my life is that my parents stayed together. There was never one day in my parents' relationship, not one day, not 1 hour, that I ever thought they were going to split up. There wasn't even a hint of it.
Wow.
And they were just locked into each other. They were very different, but my father wasn't going anywhere. My mother wasn't going anywhere. And that was it. You know what I mean? And then in high school, you know, you deal with your friends who are parents are getting divorced.
Yeah.
And that whole concept was so foreign to me. You know?
You're not used to seeing that.
No,
from what you had home.
Yeah, you don't even imagine it. And I would have friends. Some of the guys on the two guys on the football team individually said to me, "You're so lucky, you know, with your parents and all that." And I made me stop and think because I never thought about it. There was never a hint of my parents separating. You know, now
who is
that glass drops on the floor. Your wife wants to leave. You know what I mean? That's it. I'm out. I didn't sign up for this.
And that's all it takes, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, they do all those things. I didn't sign up for this. I don't know who you are. You know what I mean? You know.
And they
who I am. I'm the guy who pays the bills. That's who I am.
But they say the pandemic actually sped that up because now these couples that were just married
together.
They were stuck together.
Yeah.
And that divorce rate went through the fucking roof.
Yeah, it is. You know, the pandemic was very challenging. Well, you know, I was living in Manhattan. And we were forced to move out of the city. You know, my wife's is a little girl, and you know, I would have to walk her everywhere. You know, we went from being in a very safe neighborhood to an unsafe neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And first of all, I have no job. I got to find an apartment. Somebody will give me an apartment. You're not going to get a mover.
Yep.
So I moved out of the city into Westchester. I slept on a mattress. I had a friend that owned a building. He had an apartment. He gave it to me. And I slept on a mattress for 10 days. And I moved my stuff up piece by piece and with a pickup truck.
That's crazy. That was a crazy time, too.
That was crazy.
You look back. I look back on it now and I get angry. Not at the pandemic itself, just the information that how bad we were lied to about so many different things, and people would get on TV and make these affirmations, and you would believe them and feel safe and so on and so forth, and this is the way to go, and this is it, and we do this, and 6 feet, and the mask, and the shot, and all that stuff, and it all ended up being just a whole bunch of guesswork.
The question then becomes, how do you stop mass panic? You have to sound like you're sure.
Yes, I understand that, but the lockdown was...
Oh, no, it was definitely...
The lockdown was detrimental.
Cherry on top.
Yeah, the lockdown, you know, I was in Manhattan. You know, we had a curfew.
Mm-hmm.
You had to be in the house at 7 o'clock. All the restaurants were closed day and night. The subway was closed, and they emptied the jails. What could go wrong? Right?
Mad Max.
Yeah. I mean, you just lit the fuse on a bomb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you had all these people who live down the subway, make a living down the subway, and you have all these people in my neighborhood where, because it was a little bit of a tourist section. I lived by where John Lennon lived. You know, the tourist bus would stay there, and people would live. You know, people would panhandle tourists. You know, can I have $1 to eat?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, I would give people money. And then the pandemic came, and people come up to you. I want $5.
I want $5.
Yeah, not like, you know.
Well, I'll sneeze on you.
You know, women walking.
I'll sneeze on you. This is my new weapon, motherfucker.
Yeah. I'll kill you.
So I think while we're talking about the pandemic, I think you're the perfect person to ask this question. When the world shut down, right? A lot of people, even people that we know, end up shining on social media.
Right.
What are your feelings about all that hard work that you put in back then? It might be an audition. Right. It might be all the learning and curving, and how the way times have changed, it's sped up for other people differently.
Well, it's interesting because you're literally talking about Anthony Rodia.
I didn't say
no, but you are
right.
All right, you're talking about Anthony Rodia, and you know, if you don't know, I mean, that we work together. We're a team. You know, I tour with him for the past 4.5 years.
We've come to see you guys like twice.
Yeah. So Anthony, you know, Anthony took advantage of that. He put in the work. it's a new business. You know, things change. You know what I mean? And you have to change with them.
The times.
Now, I'm not the most coolest guy on the internet. You know what I mean? I told you that privately. I mean, I'm a little handicapped when it comes to that. But, you know, a lot of people my age are like that. It's all new to me. It's confusing to me. I wasn't raised on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Anthony's very skilled on it. He took advantage of it. He put out 90 videos in 90 days.
Yeah, I heard
Okay. That. And you guys know making a video is not something you do in a half hour. So in 90 days, he put out 90 videos and he blew up like a balloon. Mm-hmm. He put in the work.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I respect him. And everybody should respect him. But does that make him a comedian? No, it does not. And that's what we found out. There's a lot of these social media sensations who have like millions of followers. And they say, all right, I can do stand-up. I'm going to be at this comedy club. All right. So they pack the club. 300 people come to see him. It's a layup. But they have no act.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They didn't pay their dues comedically.
Right.
And then there's exceptions like Anthony Rodia, Eric D'Alessandro.
Yep.
Okay. There are some people that are exceptions that are
took it and ran the right way.
Well, they were able to convert
mm-hmm.
the online content to on stage.
Yes.
And that is a very difficult trick. And I salute anybody that can do that because I know what it takes to be a comedian. You know what I mean? But to take it from, you know, being behind a screen, a monitor, and then going in front of the people, it's a totally different thing. I mean, there's no editing.
Yeah,
you're not
that's what I was gonna say.
like going, oh my God.
No one cut, two cut.
No, none of that.
Right.
So I admire these guys, especially Anthony, because Anthony's really developed into a great comedian.
Yes, he has.
Yeah. So those guys who have been able to do it, but I've seen some of these guys flop.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I guess they thought it was going to be easy breezy.
They're just online sensations, really.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and I think they should stick to it.
Well, it's another art form.
There you go.
You know what I mean? But that doesn't make you a comedian.
No.
You know what I mean?
That's what I was getting at because I've met with other people who they don't say do despite it. It's like they feel like they're hurting, you know, that part of the culture, meaning a comedian's life.
Right.
Like they'll just because you're doing 2-minute clip online, posting it like Anthony did in the beginning, 90 days.
Right.
Try making a 2-minute clip stretched out to a 1-hour show.
Right.
You know, it takes a lot of talent, it takes a lot of energy to keep the room arised. So
well, it's the difference between, you know, how do I describe it? It's like and then for lack of better examples, it's the difference between stickball and hardball.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're swinging a bat and you're hitting the ball, but they're two different things.
It's very different. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you and Anthony have been touring now together for the past 4 or 5 years?
We're in our 5th year.
How fast does time fly?
Dude, and the way I gauge it is, I mean, I'm watching his kids grow up. I don't have any children, so I really, really enjoy Anthony's children tremendously.
Yeah.
They're great kids. And I wasn't there for the birth of his daughter, but I was there for the birth of his son. I'm not at the hospital, but, you know.
Yeah.
So I know the kid every day of his life.
That's awesome.
So I never had the experience in my life of watching a child just go like this down the timeline. And it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it
awesome.
It's pretty amazing. So that, I'm very grateful for that.
You guys make a great combo on stage.
Well, thank you. You know, a lot of people say that. You know, I met him by chance. I don't know what stories he told you about me and him, but I'll tell you the truth now. So what happened was Anthony lived in New Rochelle, and there was a time that I lived in New Rochelle. And I would order food from a restaurant. Now, I didn't know Anthony, but my friend owned the restaurant, a childhood friend, and Anthony was one of the delivery boys from the restaurant. And he would deliver, you know, food, pizza and pasta to my house. right? And he goes, they would fight over going to your house because you were a good tipper. And I said, so he goes, we would always wait. He goes, I'd wait in the bathroom until your name came up. So I'd laugh. So I didn't, I saw Anthony, but I didn't know who he was. He was a kid. He was a baby. I'm 25 years older than him. So Chaz Palminteri asked me me and Chris DiStefano to do a comedy show for his children's foundation in Manhattan at Gotham Comedy Club. Anthony was the last, I don't want to say last minute, but he was the last edition. So I said, this guy, Anthony Rodia, is going to come. He's got a big online following and he's doing well and so on and so forth. So I go up, I perform, I meet him. He comes in, he goes, I've been dying to meet you. Blah, blah, blah. I said, no, I'm dying to meet you too. He was polite. Treated him very nice, which in retrospect, he told me, he goes, which was the exception. He says a lot of comedians weren't very nice to him. So I didn't even think of that, Yeah. So after I performed, he did well. And he comes up to me, he goes, I want you to tour with me. Really? I said to myself, you want me to tour with you? So I goes, yeah, I want you to tour with me. Because I want you to.
Did you say what you said? No.
No, I didn't say anything. Because it was so bizarre. You know what I mean? I said, how long have you been doing this? He goes, I used to do it, but now I've been doing it about 6 months. 6 months?
You want me to tour with you?
You want me to tour with you?
Gotcha.
Yeah. It was so organic, and I was a different person at that time. You know what I mean? I was older, and I just went with my gut. I said, yeah, I'll tour with you.
All right.
Part of the reason was I liked him. There was something about him I liked. You know what I mean? I saw him perform, and I could tell from day one that I saw him that he had it in him. I know what he was. He didn't know what he was at the time, but I was an experienced comedian. I knew.
You see it.
I saw the talent.
He has that energy.
It was just, he had it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I knew what he was. So I said, sure, I'll tour with you. And we started off, and it wasn't gigantic. We went to Boston, 100 people. We walked into Boston, and the owner grabs Anthony. He goes, $25. Anthony goes, $25? He goes, I'm the comedian. So he goes, the owner. He goes, how the hell should I know?
Wow.
So, and he points to me. He goes, who's he? He goes, that's my opening act. And then it was so funny. And we were treated so poorly. We were laughing. We were giggling. We weren't mad. They had no green room. We had to stand in a coat room. And it was freezing. And it was so funny. And, we went on stage. We did well. I mean, we did really well. And it
kept growing from there.
Kept growing really, really fast. And we have a funny story from that first gig. Anthony goes, I'm going to do a meet and greet after every show. I said, okay, that's a good idea. He goes, I just, maybe take a picture and, and give them a picture and so on and so forth. I said, okay, good. So, first one, there's maybe 14, 15 people online, Then they were dying, they're fans of his from the internet. We were excited about seeing him. So there's a couple at the end of the line, and the husband's drunk. And he goes, Johnny! And I'm like, oh God, this is not good. This is not good. He goes, hey, Johnny, anybody ever tell you look like Tom Brady? And I'm like, no one's ever told me I look like Tom Brady. Anthony puts the pen down. He goes, dude, what are you, drunk? He looks nothing like Tom Brady. He got really mad. He goes, what are you, crazy? Look at him. Maybe a little bit like John Cena, but not Tom Brady. So I'm saying, like, he goes, Johnny, you think you look like Tom Brady? And I said, Anthony, what are you getting upset for? I don't give a shit. I don't care. I'm not Tom Brady. So he goes, you do not. I said, okay. All right. So I walked away and I got pissed off. I got pissed off that he got pissed off.
Right.
That somebody thought I looked like Tom Brady.
That's funny.
Right? So I said, okay, I'm going to get even with him. So the next 10 cities we went to, Fort Lauderdale, Dallas, Miami, New York, Cleveland, Detroit. We did the meet and greet. I would go to the back of the line. I would grab a couple, and I said, Miss, do me a favor. When you get to the front, tell Anthony that I look like Tom Brady.
Okay.
It's an inside joke. And I would just walk to the side, and I'd wait for the couple to get up, and they go, hey, Anthony, doesn't Johnny look like Tom Brady? Are you kidding me? No, what is this all about? He looks nothing like this. Went on for 10 cities.
Why would he get mad though?
No, because I'd just get infuriated. So, because he thought it was foolish, whatever. So we get to Cincinnati. We're having breakfast. Puts down his coffee. Looks at me. He goes, look, I got to tell you something. I don't see it, but the whole fucking country thinks you look like Tom Brady. So I said, I don't know what to tell you, Anthony. Maybe I look like Tom Brady. I don't know. I don't think so. So he goes, man, I don't think so either. This is crazy. So that night in Cincinnati, I go to do it again. He taps me on the shoulder. You scumbag.
Oh, he found the door.
He goes, how long has this been going on? I said, 10 cities.
You son of a
10 cities. So that's the kind of, goofing around we do on the road. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we have a lot of fun. There's work. We do writing. We're together. He'll help me with something in my bit, and he'll give me some advice, and vice versa.
That's good.
And I help him out. I'm a lot more experienced than him, and I'm not talking about in the performance angle. I'm just talking about there's so many different layers to comedy, to writing a joke. You know what I mean? That the one thing you can't teach somebody is seasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if I look back at me as a comedian when I was 10 years into it, now I'm 20 years into it, let's say, and I look back and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I had the balls to get on the stage back then.
Yeah.
And that's the way the business is. If you keep on progressing.
And speaking about the business, I mean, so you guys talked about the comedic side of everything. What about the radio side? How do you feel about like what we're doing now, podcasting? You were on the radio. That was your thing for so many years.
Yeah. How
do you feel about this wave of podcasts and what we're basically doing? Like,
I've been asked, right from the beginning, I've been asked to offered my own podcast.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people offered me to be on. I refused to do it. I didn't want to do it. Anthony wanted to do one, and I don't want to say I gave into it, but I did it with him.
Okay. Because
number one, I like him. You know what I mean? And number two, we work together. So, I did it with him. Of all people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he doesn't really have a lot of experience, but he is a very quick learner,
mm-hmm.
and the show has been getting better and better and better. So, in that respect, we're gonna, we did our podcast last night. We had 50,000 views.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we haven't monetized it yet,
mm-hmm.
but there's people interested in it. It needs some work. Like anything else, and it'll get all the work that it needs. Right. And I think at some point soon, within the next 6 months, I think it'll be a big moneymaker.
Yeah.
I find them I enjoyed the podcast. You know what I mean? I like the interviews. Some of the people are very interesting. Some of the people are not.
Right.
It's
a mixed bag.
It is. Yeah, it's a mixed bag.
It's like what I said earlier too. It also, like I've met people, mentioning no names, who, when they're in person, they're complete opposites.
Yeah, well, that's the entertainer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the entertainer, and I'm sure your wife will say the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, she told me once, she goes, I like them
I'm
better
sure
on TV.
Fooled your wife, like every other guy, right? I don't know who you are. I love when they say that. I don't know who you are. What do you mean you don't know who I am? It's the stupidest thing I ever heard. I didn't sign up for this. Like, what do you think you're going to Iraq? I didn't sign up for this.
You got to tell us the story about what you found out about your last name.
Oh, my last name.
I got to hear this.
Oh, yeah.
The town.
So, we were told we were Calabrese. My father went to Italy, right? Goes back. He traces the family tree. He comes back. He goes, my father was, sit down. I got to talk to you.
Oh, shit.
So I said, what happened? He goes, I got some bad news, man. I said, what do you mean I got some bad news? He goes, I went to Italy. I looked up our family tree. He goes, you know, our name, Sialiano, that's not our real last name. Our real last name is Siciliano. So I said, well, you need to be a detective to figure that out. We're the only ones in the phone book.
Yeah.
Of course it's a misspelling. I never met anybody with our name.
Right.
Not one person. So he goes, yeah, it's Siciliano. He goes, we're not Calabrese, we're Sicilian. We're from this town called Taormina.
Taormina, yeah.
So I said, why are you so upset? He goes, upset? You know what I said about Sicilians my whole life, and now I found out I'm one.
So what made him?
That's great.
Can you believe it?
What made him think that he was Calabrese then? Where did that come from?
They said they were from Crescenza. That's Calabria. And he went back and they faced the family tree and it goes all the way back to Sicily, to Taormina. And then they went, very common.
Yeah.
You know, for people to go from Sicily to Calabria, of course.
It's basically, it's just a different dialect of the same.
But still, I mean, you know, if you're gonna meet anybody from Sicily, it's gonna be in Calabria.
Yes.
Supposedly they're building a bridge. Did you know that?
They are. Yep. Yep.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
We're gonna wait for it to get done.
My brother went to where we're from, the hometown, Taormina. Yeah,
it's
and
beautiful.
I haven't been there. He said they treated him unbelievable. You know, when they found out he was from there. You know, my father never got to go.
Did you get to go to Italy at all?
No, I haven't been to Italy.
Wow.
Wow, man.
No, oddly enough, and even more oddly enough, I've been to Ireland.
Wow.
Radio promotion in Ireland, and I was on. We were broadcasting live on St. Patrick's Day in Dublin, back to New York, and we were there for a week, and they were giving us this tour, and we're on this tour bus, and they take us to Dublin, and then after St. Patty's Day, they have the Guinness. I think they call it the Guinness store, but it's where they make Guinness.
Mm-hmm.
And they take you on a tour, and then you go up to the top, and there's a bar that overlooks downtown Dublin. So they pour the Guinness for me, you know, and we have a VIP tour. And the guy goes, well, Johnny, how does the Guinness here in Ireland compare to the Guinness here in the States? So I said, I got to be honest with you. This is the first Guinness I've ever had. She goes, you mean to tell me your first glass of Guinness is here in Dublin on St. Paddy's Day? He goes, that's amazing. Because that's like going out on your first date with a Playboy model. I said, I'm Italian. It's not.
It's not.
I said, you guys are way into your beer. I said, I said, that was a bad example. So awesome. That was my
that's freaking awesome.
My experience in Ireland. But I will say this. I've been to Japan. You know, I've been all around the country.
Go there.
But if I had to say, if somebody asked me if God is anywhere on this earth, he's in Ireland.
Yeah.
Spiritual place. Maybe the tallest building is 14 stories. It's not even in Dublin. Villages, the castles.
The sceneries I heard is amazing.
The churches, hundreds and hundreds of years old. I mean, you like really feel like, oh my God.
You got to go to Sicily then.
I think this is where God hangs out.
You got to see Sicily.
You're like, I'm ready to see a dragon. That's what you were.
Well, at least a leprechaun.
At minimum.
At minimum. Yeah. But it was a very spiritual place. It had that air about it.
Nice.
I'd love to go to Italy.
No.
Do you have family? What town?
We're in Castellammare del Golfo. So that's like a big... Now it's considered a bigger
tourist
than
spot.
Town. It's a big tourist spot. A lot of Europeans go there.
Oh, yeah? Vacation?
Yeah. So when you talk to anybody here, would everyone go to Milan, Rome? They go up north. By me, or Australians, the English,
Right.
the Irish, they all go down to my town.
Oh, yeah?
So it's like, that's like almost like a secluded spot just for Europe to go.
Yeah, no Americans.
I hardly ever see anyone I go.
Yeah.
Hardly ever.
See how
Your
proud
family there still?
Yeah. I got an aunt, cousins. I got them
I have a
all.
business out there.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, we got a restaurant out in above the town called Quetzal. I didn't name it.
What does that mean?
No idea. It's German, and I really wish I was making this up. So
What do you serve? Cheeseburgers?
Yeah, right. No, it's so we got two guys there who are half owners, and they're actually the cooks there. They named it, but the area is famous because there's a big cross that when you look at it and you could oversee the whole town, the pier, the castle, everything. And it used to be owned by a bunch of Americans years prior to that.
Oh, wow.
So it's like we actually know like the history of that spot itself. And to say like, wow, we actually ended up getting that and doing whatever, it was pretty cool. And actually my dad's doing some stuff recently to expand. He wants to put a little bar out front on a track. And he wants to start selling roadside stuff.
Were your dad and mom there during the war? Were they born during that time?
My dad was born in 56, I think. And my mom, she had she left Italy with my grandmother, and she was actually in Argentina for a little while.
Yeah.
And then she migrated here.
Yeah.
So it's like they were, and here's the crazy part, both from the same town.
Yeah.
Both from the same town. But they found themselves in Ridgewood. Crazy shit. After 3 months of meeting each other, married, miserable life from there on in.
I had a friend that had the same experience, but it was a little bit different. He went on spring break, and he lived in a very small, I don't want to mention the thing because people might know who he is. Lives in a very small community in Westchester, right? I mean, the graduating class of school maybe was about 250 people.
Wow.
Small. Everybody knows each other. He meets this girl on spring break and has a one-night stand with her.
I don't like where this is going.
Yeah, right? She lives in the same town.
What?
He never met her before. Wow. He met her in Fort Lauderdale. And he called me up. Yeah, you'll never believe this, blah, 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 and all this other stuff.
It's almost like it's meant to be.
Yeah. And at his wedding, he grabbed me. He goes, "Don't you dare tell anybody how I met my wife."
Dude. I thought that story was going to go, and that was my cousin. I thought it was going down that route.
No.
It scared the hell out of me.
No, he goes, "You're the only one knows how I met my wife."
Wow, that's nuts.
Yeah,
Man.
'cause I said, "You had to go to Fort Lauderdale to screw some girl that lived a mile away from you?"
Who lived in an apartment too, B?
Yeah, I said, "Oh my God." He goes, I said, "Where you from?" And she said, I said, "That's where I live." I said, "Yeah."
That's crazy.
That's great, man.
Yeah, so much so for guilt-free sex, huh?
Yeah.
I'm going to Fort Lauderdale to get laid. Nobody will find out.
I'll meet you at the airport.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So just recently, Anthony dropped a special.
Anthony dropped a special
On Prime.
On Prime. Just go to Prime Video, put in Rodia. It's excellent, and it's being very well received. I'm very proud of him.
Yeah,
It's great.
It was so coincidence. Like when we bumped into each other at a show,
Right.
we were talking about it, and I said, "I am surprised you don't have a special."
Right.
And he just gave me that look. I'm like, "It's coming," because I can't say nothing yet.
Yeah.
But the fact that he got it and it's there, congratulate even to both you guys.
No,
I'm
thank
sure
you.
all this is teamwork.
Yeah. So what's next for you guys?
Who knows? Wherever the wind takes us.
Where can you go from here? I mean, obviously, you guys are doing very well. You're very popular. The numbers are fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you got a lot to be proud of.
We're new to this. We're just happy to get, honestly, really good guests. We love the conversation.
Yeah.
We've always said this is like a community thing to
Right.
keep all of the culture still alive. So as long as we still keep going down that path, I'm cool with that. I'm happy with that. I love meeting new people, and
Yeah, well, you know what? It has a life of its own.
it does.
You know what I mean? And if you do guest, or when I was on the radio, God, I had the good fortune to interview everybody, and there's an art to it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very different. Some people come on, especially when you're dealing with these high-end celebrities. Some of them are a little bit too media savvy. They don't want to be there, or this or that, or whatever. And then you got the ones that are, that are generally just friendly and good people. Some of them, if I had to say, out of all the interviews I've done on the radio, the only time I would say I wasn't intimidated. I just was overwhelmed. Was Olivia Newton-John.
Really?
Yeah, I was such a big fan of hers.
Oh, you gushed?
Yeah, I was like, I sat there like, I said, "Oh my God, it's Sandy D."
It's Sandy D.
You know, and I said, "Sandy D." I said, and she just started laughing at me. So she goes, "Yeah, no, it's me, John."
It's me.
So and you know, it was just all off camera.
Yeah.
You know.
That's
And some of them, you know, you work in the mornings. You get to see people come in the morning. You know, see what they look like. You know. I get to see Jennifer Lopez at 6:30 in the morning. You know.
See, for me, it's I kind of say I sometimes feel a regret where I had opportunities as I was younger to get in certain things that I declined.
Right.
What inspired me to do this is losing that.
Yes. That's God's plan.
Where it would take me from here, I really don't know.
Yeah. Look, there's nothing wrong with following the wind, as long as it's not in your face. It's behind your back. And you make sure the wind is behind your back, and you'll always go forward.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And you guys will always do well. I mean, you guys are good people. You're very friendly. Your wife's very nice.
Thank you.
I don't think she particularly cares for you, but first impressions are usually wrong. All right, let me state that. Look how red he got.
I could say jokes, but it's just she's right there. Love you, babe. But Johnny, I wanted to just thank you for coming and giving us that opportunity.
No, it's great. It's great. I'll come anytime you guys want. You know, thank you for having me on. Continued success.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? You know, look up, think big. I mean, you guys are capable of some really good stuff. I mean, you know what you're doing. You know, and don't take that for granted. There's there's money in them hills.
We're gonna come to get them, you know.
Yeah.
But hopefully we do this again soon.
Anytime you want, man. And please, I'm sure Anthony invited you to a show. I mean, we're gonna be in the Paramount.
Yes, he did.
You gonna come?
It's my daughter's communion that day.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, there'll be other shows.
We're planning on hitting the one that you guys are doing in Atlantic City later that year.
Oh, the Brigada.
Yes. That's my spot.
That's his spot. I don't
Is
even
it?
want to get into
Well, what do you? Don't stop the interview. What do you play? I gotta know.
Honestly, I like to pay the blackjack or the 3-card poker.
Oh, I like the 3-card poker.
He's the roulette guy,
I'm roulette.
but you can't pull him off that.
What's your numbers? You gotta have numbers.
My birthday, 13.
That's Anthony's birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm 29.
29?
29 is my birthday. You know. So let me tell you this one. I'll leave you with this last story. I'm working at Mohegan Sun, the casino. I come out, and when you come out of the theater, it was right in front of roulette tables. So I take out 200. So I said, give me 200 in nickels, right? I always play my birthday. This guy puts $200 on 29. I'm like, fuck it. He ruined it.
He ruined it.
He ruined it. You know what I mean? No one's going to hit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
He hit, didn't he?
Ball goes around.
Motherfucker.
Boom. 29.
Piece of shit.
7,000. He takes 2 more chips, puts it on 29.
Again?
Ball goes around. Boom. 29.
What are the chances?
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck?
Won what do you win? $14,000, $21,000, 2 spins. Right? Right there.
Again.
I said, sir, I said, can I ask you a question? So he goes, yeah, sure. He gathering up his, chips. I said, the 29th is my birthday. I said, I always play it, and I'm really kicking myself for not playing it. I said, is that your birthday too? So he goes, no, it's not my birthday. He goes, on the 29th, my divorce came through. And he goes, and if you think I'm fucking even, you're out of your mind.
That's fucking awesome. That's great. Like, what do you say to that?
I just said, I gotta go.
I would have shook his hand. You keep going, good sir.
I gotta go. I'm like, you need a hug?
Jesus Christ.
Man, but Johnny, again, thank
thank
you.
you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Man.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Everyone.